Hey, what's up, guys? It's Neverender here, and adding another addition to the audio blog series for Braddock's blog. Today we're going to talk about something pretty interesting I read just recently. I was on one of the forums, and this guy was writing a post about like some of his struggles with like attraction, and he mentioned going into set and having trouble, talking to girls who he wasn't attracted to, which, is whatever. I really wanted to focus on somebody's reply and to that post. There was one reply where the guy said, "Oh man, don't even worry about it. I totally know what you mean. I don't even bother approaching a girl unless she's an 8.5 or better," which is when I read that, my jaw just like dropped to the floor because it's like so bad for so many reasons. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there who have that kind of mindset, but I think we have a range. Like, I think everybody at least goes through a point where they kind of have that mindset to a certain degree. I know even when I was getting started, there'd be times where I'd go into sets and like they would hook and I'd be generating attraction, and then I would just eject. And my women would be like, "Oh, she really liked you, it looked like." And it's like, "Yeah, she's not hot enough for me." And I'm saying this like when I'm like in a beginner and I haven't even pulled yet. So it's So I just want to run through like what kind of mindset you really should be having, especially when it comes to when it comes to talking to like sixes and stuff like that. Like why, what you can get out of that and why it's important. But just really quickly, the whole there's a lot of people are saying these days like the whole 1 to 10 scale is probably a bad thing, and I tend to agree with it, especially if you're walking around the club like what this guy sounded like. If you're walking around the club like judging girls right off the bat between 1 and 10, and it's like, I was thinking I almost wanted to reply and start trolling the guy. It's like, okay, so if, like some 8 went up to you and be like, "Hey, I want you to take me to the bathroom right now and fuck me," he's gonna be like, "No, you're an 8, maybe like an 8.3. You're definitely not an 8.5." It's like, come on, dude. So it really does reflect badly too in terms of like your inner game. It's like, what do they say like in self-help books, like if you, like the way you view others and judge others is a reflection on who you are. So it doesn't really say much about you as a person if you're going to go around like judging people like that. It shows a lot of insecurity and low self-esteem on your end that you're going to judge people like that. It often is basically suggesting like, I judge myself really harshly too, and it just shows a lack of confidence. Alright, so with all that said, let's get into the reasons why it's really important to basically, when I go out, especially at the beginning of the night, I'm basically approaching everybody. First off, you need the early opens to get into state, alright? If you want to, I understand, okay, if you don't want to hook up with, 5s or 6s, that's fine. With that said, though, if you aren't pulling regularly yet, you should be lowering your standards. You shouldn't, it's ridiculous to think, okay, I'm only going to pull a girl home if she's, a 9 or a 10 or something like that, when you haven't pulled, a bunch of 7s, 8s, and 6s or whatever. You need the reference experiences. Going out, that's basically, I've mentioned this in older blog posts, you want to be going out, creating adventures and pushing it to the limits and creating new reference experiences that you can look back on and learn from. You're missing out on tons and tons of crazy opportunities if you're just if you're passing on all these if you're passing up on all these sets with 6s and 7s. Additionally, sets with 6s, 7s, and 8s too. I don't know how you're not going to approach an 8, but those sets, a lot of times those girls are really fucking cool people. One of the coolest side benefits from game is that you get to hear all these interesting stories and get to have all these fun interactions and get to know people, and you're missing out on a huge percentage of people if you're only approaching 8.5s and plus. Not to mention, it's not like there are fucking 9s and 10s walking around everywhere all over the club. I live in Vegas, and I'm going I'm going to the best of nightclubs in Vegas pretty regularly, and there's what I would say are legitimate 9s and 10s. There's only going to be a handful of them, maybe 10 every night, and most of them are, I would probably say maybe 5, 10 that are actually somewhere where you have access to them. A lot of cases, these girls are pulled up into cabanas and tables, reserved tables where you can't get access to them anyway. So if you're only opening really, really hot girls, you're just getting to this point where there's only going to be a handful of opportunities for you, and if you strike out with those, are you done? Think about Man, you're just missing so many reference experiences. Additionally, you need to be going out and interacting with as many people as you can, not just for the reference experiences, but to get into state and learn to like build your social skills and to have fun. You want to become the life of the party, and if you want to think of it from like a strategy perspective, it creates huge social proof. For you to be crushing it with like a whole bunch of different sets of girls. You know, if you want that 9 or a 10, a lot of times the best way to get that 9 or a 10 is to like give her the opportunity to see you in action with other girls. I was just out this weekend, and this really, really hot girl who I hooked up with earlier, who things that kind of died over text or whatever after we hooked up, she saw me in a nightclub, and I didn't even know she was there, but I get this like random text out of nowhere, and she's like, I've been watching you. And like I was like, as soon as she said I've been watching you, I'm like, yes, like super hard fist pump, because I knew like that night, like I'd been just like I'd been the life of the party. I'd been having like a lot of fun, you know. She actually texted me right after like I lifted a girl up and like was like carrying her through the club, and I was like threatening like to throw her into the pool like by the club, and like she saw that. And when girls see that, that's like really, really attractive. And I think it was Braddock who told me it's a pretty interesting concept that when girls, like, okay, maybe like if a guy is watching you talk to a girl, he's going to be looking at the girl and judging the girl like on maybe like on that 1 to 10 scale, and then that like maybe if you're talking to like some like not cute girl, like maybe you're talking to like a 3 or a 4 or something like that, he might look at that negatively. But with girls, they don't notice they don't notice how hot the girl is that you're talking to. All that matters is that you're talking to a girl. If you're talking to a girl and you guys are having a fun interaction, she's gonna, like, the girl who's watching the interaction is gonna find that attractive, period. It doesn't matter if it's a 3 or it doesn't matter if it's a 10. It doesn't make a difference. It's just the fact that you're talking to her. You're communicating that you can just go out and have fun and be yourself, and you can be the life of the party, and that's what the really hot girl wants anyway. All right, I'm just looking through my notes right now, making sure I want to cover like all the points why this is like so important to like talk to as many girls as you can and flirt with as many girls as you can. Building your beliefs. Braddock talks about, and this is like an old Tony Robbins book. There's a book by Tony Robbins called Awaken the Giant Within. I think it was the first like real self-help book I ever read. It's an awesome read. You should definitely check it out. It's in terms of like describing like what beliefs are and how to build good beliefs and wash out bad beliefs, like Awaken the Giant Within is like the shit for that. So I really recommend you check it out. And Tony Robbins talks about your belief is like a tabletop, and the reference experiences are what's going to start holding up that table. So you think of, and Braddock talks about this in the Intro to Inner Games audio. So like say you want this belief that like, I'm really good, or women find me attractive. Let's say that women find me attractive. All right, so that's the belief you want. That's the belief you want to create. All right, so that's the tabletop. Now, in order to you need to get legs onto that table for the table to work, and to strengthen the table, you need more legs on the table, right? And the only way you're going to get legs on the table is through those reference experiences. So you need to be going out and creating as many reference experiences as possible, not just for the sake of like, internalizing new experiences and like correcting yourself, and so that in the future your game's going to be better, but it's also for the belief system, right? You want to have the more success you have with women, the more reference experiences you have, the bigger, like the stronger your beliefs are going to become, the more legs you put underneath that table, and the better you're going to do overall with women. Something I think about right now is, I still have lots of leaks in my game. I still have, I still have, a lot of things like I'm trying to correct about my game, trying to grow. And truth be told, like if my dream girl was sitting like in a nightclub right now, like it would be difficult for me to approach her and like just completely be myself and completely come from a place of like I'm just talking to her like authentically and being self-entertaining. Like I'm not at that point yet. And that's only going to come from more and more reference experiences and more success and more work on my inner game. Okay, it's going to be all those million 7s, 8s, even 6s and stuff like that that's going to create the reference experiences for me to eventually get that girl. With that said, I mean, you should always be like, you should always be pushing your limits. I mean, you should always be trying to approach 9s and 10s, but the 6s, 7s, and 8s count just as much, because I mean, there's way more of them. And then finally, I I think if you're saying that you're only going to be talking to girls who are like 8.5 and better, it really, like, it's hard for me to believe that you can go talk to a girl and that you're going to come talk to her from completely like a place of like being like self-entertaining, right? Like, you should be able to, I've mentioned this in older blog posts, like, you should be able to go up to a 5 or a 4 or a 3 or a 6 or whatever. You should be able to go up and talk to any girl and just have fun with it. Like, shoot the shit and have a good time. Because what you're saying is coming from a place of, like, self-entertainment. Like, you know how to generate, you know how to build your own state, you know how to just, like, have fun when you're going out. And it's really, really important. That's like a huge skill set. So if you're only talking to 8.5s or better, it's hard for me to not like think that when you actually go and talk to them, you're basically just trying to like suck the energy from them, or it's like suck their value up, instead of just being a person who's just out there to shoot the shit and have fun. All right, so when you read stuff like that, guys, on the forums or in the posts, or if you're struggling with that yourself, just remember, you need to be going out with the same goals we always talk about. You need to go out with the intention of having fun, getting into state, acting self-entertained, acting on your own intentions, and looking to create those reference experiences and build your beliefs, right? You want that, those are your main goals. So don't listen to these like freaking trolls on forums who say stuff like, I don't even approach a girl who's an 8.5 or better. You know, make sure you can close with like 7s before you just say, oh, I'm only going to close a girl who's a 10. Make sure you get the reference experiences. And not to mention, it's fucking fun, right? I mean, like, last night, the other night, like, I hooked up with a girl who was like, she was probably like, you know, like a 7, like, you know, nothing crazy or whatever, but like, we talked for like 5 minutes and it was on, and she had a really good sexual energy about her, so we just went and we hooked up real quick, and then we went back into the club, and like, I approached her. If I didn't get that approach, like, that doesn't happen. And who wouldn't want to just like hook up with some cute girl like really quickly, like, you know, run to your car, hook up with her, and then go back to the club and enjoy your night? Like, who wouldn't want to do that, you know? So just keep that stuff in mind, guys. I hope you enjoyed listening to this audio, and thanks for visiting the blog. Please give me feedback, and I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.